Hi there, we're on topic 21, talking about the Human Resources Department. And so in the Human Resources Department, we're going to talk about the role, what they do in the office space, some of the tasks that they're responsible for, and then we're going to go in a little bit more detail into those tasks. So let's quickly get started. Of course, welcome to the virtual space. Let's work together to learn, share ideas, participate, and learn something new. The wise always seek knowledge. Here we have the functions of the Human Resources Department, also called HR. And so key functions of the HR department are to recruit, which is find individuals to be hired for specific roles, induct, perform orientation, make sure that the new individuals that are hired are comfortable in their environment, they're being trained, and they're being taught what they are supposed to be doing. Deploy, sometimes send persons from place to place or from department to department based on their training and based on the skills that they need. Evaluate, assist with the evaluation process of evaluating staff and keeping records of their evaluation on their files. Training, of course, HR is responsible for making sure that all staff are properly trained, and discipline. There are disciplinary actions that usually happen as a result of the Human Resources Department. And so the role of any staff in HR are going to be assist with the recruitment process and prepare for interviews, assist with shortlisting candidates, and shortlisting candidates just mean that if you put out a position for accounts clerk or HR clerk, there are going to be a number of persons that apply. And so HR is responsible for taking a look and seeing who are these individuals and maybe selecting the better ones out of the applications that were received or the resumes that were received to interview, because you can't reasonably interview every single person involved in the process. We're going to assist with other departments. They normally assist other departments, especially when it comes to training and deploying and disciplinary action. Investigate staff concerns, because staff should be able to come to the HR department and say they're concerned with their safety, and HR takes it very seriously, as well as maintain staff records and files. So worth mentioning, in the HR department, there's normally a file for all employees that include things like their resume, any important documents, any letters written to them by the company, whether it be good or bad letters. They keep a record of all of employee matters on file. This is one of the first tasks that we're going to discuss. And so that involves hiring staff. When we're hiring staff, one thing that happens is the company finds a way to get information out there that they need to hire the staff. And so a job advertisement is oftentimes posted for vacancies. And so that will be, it can be online, in newspapers, on websites, social media. Information is just sent out to the public, letting them know, hey, we have some open positions that need to be filled. HR is responsible for making sure those go out and have the relevant information on them. Once the information goes out, information on the candidates are then gathered, because persons are going to be sending in resumes, cover letters, application forms. And so the HR department gathers that information together and begins to take a look through it. That's where they're able, based on that information, to identify persons to be shortlisted or to be called for an interview. And so, and it's going to be based on what they see, the need of the actual role and the skills that the individuals actually have. And so they're going to shortlist and select a few persons to interview. They're going to assist with the interview process by asking the individuals some questions, general questions related to themselves, related to past experience, related to education. And then they're going to ask anything related to the position that they're trying to fill. Once they've been interviewed, then normally what happens is HR decides whether or not they want to re-interview or who should be passed on to the next process. Some companies require testing, maybe testing of basic math and English skills. And so if that's the case, then they also assist with the testing process as well, making sure that those who need to take the test do take a test. Once they've identified a candidate that they think can meet the role and meets all of the requirements, the candidate is selected, and what they normally do is advise the candidate, let them know that they have been selected, and ask them to come in to take a look at a contract. And so they are part of the contract process as well, putting together the contract based on the company's salary scales, also based on the benefits provided by the company so that the contract can be as complete as possible. The job description they need, who they're answering to, all of the information. They assist with the employment process, and the contract, making sure that includes all the necessary wording and things that are needed legally as well. And so once a contract is prepared and signed off by the company, then it's official that the HR department can say that this person has been hired, and they begin, after the recruitment process, the training and deployment process that allows the staff to be acquainted with their work environment and sending them to the areas that they need to go to. Here's an example of a job advertisement. And normally when there's a job vacancy, meaning that there's an opening, normally they put out the position that they're seeking to fill. So in this case, sales assistants, they're giving a summary of the job description and the tasks to be done. They give you some information based on what they need and who they're looking for. The right candidate would have certain qualifications and certain experience. And then of course, saying where they should send their information into, that is key. So HR department assistants and clerks are putting together things like these on the regular whenever a company is looking for a new employee. One of the important things to note as it relates to bringing on employees and employee contracts, HR individuals have to know about the benefits that the company offers to its staff. And so benefits are things that are used to entice individuals to apply and stay with the company. Some companies offer a whole lot of benefits versus some companies not offering any at all. And you can imagine that the employees at the company with a lot of benefits tend to be more loyal, and they stay for a longer period of time and are less disgruntled than those that work for companies that don't have any benefits. And so it's important to point out that in some instances, there are some benefits that are actually mandatory versus some that the company can decide whether or not they want to do it at all. And so one of those mandatory benefits are national insurance. No matter where you work in the Bahamas, you should be paying national insurance. It's something that's deducted from your salary, and it's used to just assist you in times of not working and sickness and things like that. And so it's considered to be a benefit, I guess, because even though they take some of it out of your salary, the employer, your boss or your company pays a portion of it for you as well. So there's a portion paid by the employee, which is you, and there's a portion paid by the employer on your behalf. And so that's mandatory. Oftentimes, according to labor law, the labor law and the labor law legal implications or rights, you have right to some type of notice pay. A notice pay is just pay that they give you. If they were to fire you, you're entitled to at least work 2 weeks before you are official. It's your official last day, or they can decide that you don't have to work the 2 weeks, so they're just going to pay you for the 2 weeks if they terminate you. Now, if you quit, that's often different. And so it all depends on the company's policies as well and what you sign for in your contract. So that's why it's important to read your contract and make sure you understand what you're signing. There's also severance or redundancy pay. If you're considered redundant, meaning that they no longer want to hire somebody in a particular position, and that's the position that you're in, you have some benefits there under the law, as well as if they let you go for reasons other than negative reasons like stealing or something like that, you may be entitled to something as well. But like I said, it depends on your contract. Staff are also given the opportunity to partake in employee benefits or privileges that are outside of those regular ones. And they could be things like a pension fund that pays you funds after you retire, health insurance plans. Some companies pay for insurance for their their employees, because insurance is pretty expensive. You have things like school fee reimbursement. Some companies do that. Some companies allow you to take breaks from work and you actually pay you for them if you're studying to improve your work environment. And then there are some companies that have unions that give you even more benefits or that fight on your behalf for good working conditions and good benefits. When we talk about training and training staff, training can be either on-the-job training, so learning skills through experience in the work environment, or off-the-job training, new skills through courses and seminars and things like that out of the organization. And so the HR department is responsible for determining the type of training needed. There can be multiple training available, and depending on what HR decides or determines, they will determine the best way to train staff. And so benefits of training, they're important. HR finds it very important because it helps you to improve your performance. It's meant to help staff to be much better at their jobs. It's meant to help them be more productive and waste less time because you know more. It should improve employee morale because nothing is more frustrating than having to do a job and you don't understand how to do it. And then, of course, it gives opportunities for staff promotions because the more trained you are, the more skilled you are, and the more experience you have. And normally with more experience and training, you have more opportunities to climb the corporate ladder. Speaking of the corporate ladder, let's talk a little bit more about advancement. When it comes to advancement, HR department is concerned with making sure that employees don't stay where they are for the duration of their time, especially if you see an employee that is improving and being trained and working better than they were. There are opportunities to suggest advancement, suggest promotions for these individuals. And so advancement involves working with the employees' goals to help encourage a happy staff. And so you find that staff that normally stay in the same position aren't promoted, aren't getting pay raises, they tend to be a little bit more disgruntled. As HR, they're supposed to pay attention to these things and identify staff that need that special attention in terms of training or that should be considered for advancement in the company. Advancement usually involves feedback from an employee appraisal or evaluation. And so that's why these evaluations are so important, because they assist with advancement. HR is responsible for sitting down with staff and finding out what are their goals, how do they feel? Do they feel as if they're doing a good job? Does their supervisor feel as if they're doing a good job? All of that is done to make sure that the Human Resources Department can identify persons that need to advance in a particular area. And so it's key to a happy employee and a happy working environment to make sure that staff that are working hard and putting in the extra effort get an opportunity to move up, and then staff that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing actually don't get a chance to be talked to and opportunities to do better before considering letting them go. And so when preparing for advances, of course, you want to encourage, the HR department normally encourages staff to attend trainings and conferences on important things that they can use in the workplace. Sometimes they may put together mentoring or coaching programs within the corporation. Maybe they know somebody's about to retire. Well, pairing persons together so that they can work and learn some things from each other. Putting together workshops for staff to attend, and then maybe having certain committees together and putting persons in certain committees so that they learn some things outside of what they would have normally learned. But HR is concerned with all of that. HR is also concerned with any grievances that may happen. And this can be things like reprimands for bad behavior, or firing, or putting somebody on probation, paying attention to things like that, the things that nobody really likes to do. HR is responsible for that as well. And so grievances occur when the employee feels as though they are treated unfairly or are looking for additional benefits. And so if an employee is frustrated as well, they normally would come to, they might go to their boss, but oftentimes they're directed to the Human Resources Department to see how they can help them to feel better and to be happy at the job once again. Depending on where this company is or the setup of the company, sometimes it involves a union, especially if it's a government agency like teachers and public workers and police officers. They have a union, and so they're able to share their concerns with the union, who in turn works with the HR department to try and help solve some of these issues. A union is just a professional association that guides you about what actions to take if you're dismissed or treated unfairly. And so sometimes in an office environment, you may be fired and you may not have a valid reason for being fired, or you may be treated unfairly and you would bring those concerns to the HR department. They are responsible and have to make sure that they hear you and that they investigate some of these things. All right. And so common unions, like I said, are your teachers union. We have public workers union. We even have hotel unions here in the Bahamas. And so they work along with HR to make sure that things are fair and that staff are treated a certain way. And they work with the HR department in that. When we have things like resignations or dismissals, what happens is the person decides that they want to find a better job, or they've gotten a better job, or they just no longer want to work with the company. And so they resign. And then normally in this process, they would prepare a resignation letter and they would give it to the HR department for their records, and all of it is filed away. If staff are dismissed, however, that's the opposite end of the company letting the staff go. They're not dismissing themselves, and so when there's dismissal, that normally involves the HR department to do things like interview and talk to the staff, letting them know what they have to let them go. And so normally that process involves some type of written letter to the staff member stating why they're being dismissed, or asking the staff for a resignation letter, letting them know when their official last day is. And so normally, this is where the process comes with notice. And so notice is usually 2 weeks or 4 weeks before your last day of employment. Okay. And so once the HR department is aware of a resignation or a dismissal, what happens is they work along with the accounts department and payroll to make sure that you're getting the proper calculation for final pay. And so that may include looking at things like benefits that need to be paid off, or balances that companies owe that the employee owes that needs to be paid back to the company. They work on calculating that final paycheck or the last pay of the employee. And then after having some interviews and talking to them about their stay and sometimes getting some information, what happens is they prepare a final paycheck, and then they pass it on to the staff, and then they make sure that staff return all the items that are given to them that are company property, like maybe any door keys, any credit cards a person may have, their name tag, access keys, computers, anything that you have that belongs to the company is normally retrieved by the HR department. And so the individual collects their personal items, and then of course they leave. If the company has agreed to pay a severance pay for persons that are normally dismissed, or persons that resign, if they have that policy in place, then they also give information based on what's due to the employee. But as a part of the resignation process, it's making sure that it's as smooth as possible, and that communication to the employee or the soon-to-be non-employee is complete and it's appropriate as well. Reasons for resignations could be maybe somebody resigned because they have better job opportunity, they feel like they've been treated unfairly, or maybe they're just changing careers, and so therefore they don't want to work for the company anymore. Reasons for terminations could be redundancy, meaning that they don't need anybody to be a filing clerk anymore, and they cannot see where you could fit anywhere else in the business. So they make that position redundant and they no longer want to have a filing clerk. It could be for disciplinary action. Maybe the individual broke some rules, or they've been given opportunities and they just haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing, and therefore they're terminated. And then as well as different things, as in maybe they, broke some law, and therefore they just, at that point, they need to be terminated. But what's important to know is once you are terminating an employee, it's important to make sure that companies follow the labor laws of the Bahamas, which most HR individuals are aware of, and make sure it's being followed in this process. This is just an example of what an employee appraisal form can look like. It just gives information and then allows you to score and rank individuals based on, like I said, their duties, their personality, well, not personality, but the traits that they have that are needed to complete the task, and whether or not they're working well with others, etc. All right. So that's an idea of the Human Resources Department, what they do, how they do it. And so I hope that you learned a lot about why they're needed in business, what they do, and the intricate things that are prepared and done in this department. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Let me know, because I'm here to help. And so I just encourage you guys to keep studying and keep at it, and happy studying. Hi, Brenda here. I just want to take the time to say thank you for choosing this course. Thank you for choosing yourself and for preparing as you should for Office Procedures BGCSE. Look forward to more from me and Business Teacher Powell, and I look forward to seeing you in other classes. Bye.